Whether you're filling up your coffee pot in the morning or taking a short trip to the restroom, having clean, accessible water is something that we often take for granted. So today, we're going to go behind the scenes and take a look at one of our city's most valuable resources. Let's see what happens at the City of Lima water treatment plant. The water treatment plant is part of the Utilities Department, which is one of the largest departments here in the city with over 90 employees. We're going to start out our day by introducing you to the Utilities Director, Mike Caprella, and Deputy Director, Sarah Weekly.
We serve about 70,000 people every day with good, safe drinking water. But in addition to the use for residential use, we are also a major tool in the toolbox for the economic development of this community. When large businesses come to town, one of the first things they ask is, how much water do you have? We have a lot of water. So economic development is a big part. It's kind of unspoken, but it's still large and important for the city and the county.
So Mike, you mentioned a lot of water. Sarah, exactly how much water do we produce?
We're able to produce 30 million gallons a day. Currently, we're running at about 15 million gallons a day. I'm going to turn it over to Tim Williams. He is the water treatment plant supervisor. He's going to tell us a little bit more about the process here.
So Tim, you run the water treatment plant. Tell us a little bit about how does the process work from getting the water to it coming out of our faucets at home?
Our water treatment plant, they said before, is 30 million gallons a day treatment plant. We have 5 reservoirs that we can pull off of. We have 2 rivers we pull off of. We have the Ottawa River and the Always River. We have 3 reservoirs that's east of here. All 3 of them combined hold around 5 billion gallons. From there, we pump our water into Lima for treatment. We treat around 15 million gallons a day. It goes through several steps, a multimedia approach to treat our water, which we have clarification. We soften the water and then it's filtered and put into the clear wells. From the clear wells, it is pumped into the distribution system. We have 4 high service pumps that we use. 2 of them are 15 million gallons a day. One of them is 9 million gallons a day, and another one is 7 million gallons a day.
So wow, that's over 40 million gallons of water to pump. That has to take a lot of power. How much electricity do you use?
Our budget is over $1 million a year to pay for our electricity to produce the water out of the distribution system.
As you've heard, the water department produces a huge electric bill for the city. But we're implementing new ways to manage that cost, along with setting new records in the state of Ohio. So I'm out here with Rich Stokey from D3 Energy at Twin Lakes Reservoirs. He's going to tell us a little bit about our plan about how we're going to help reduce costs.
Out here is the Twin Lakes Reservoir, where we are going to deploy a floating solar array.
And this is a pretty new technology, so tell me a little bit about what are the floating solars supposed to do exactly?
Floating solar is essentially a system of what we call like jet ski docks, like blow mold type docks that are assembled together, and we put the solar out on the facility and run the wires in, and we're able to produce enough power to offset the usage of the utilities here at the water treatment plant.
And is this a pretty new technology?
The technology's been around for a while, mostly in Europe and Asia, but it's come to the United States recently, and D3 picked up on the technology fairly early and has been doing it since about 2015.
So, not the first in Ohio, but definitely the largest. What other treatment plants across the country are using floating solar?
Glad you asked. There are 2 that D3 has deployed in the state of Florida. They're very similar. One is a 1.2 megawatt system for Orange County Utilities, and the other is in Altamont Springs, same type of facility as well. Lima's not quite going to make it to the first. The finish line will be crossed a little bit earlier by somebody else. However, your floating solar array will absolutely be the largest in the state of Ohio.
Great technology, largest in Ohio. How are we paying for all this?
The City of Lima has funded a portion of the program, and the Department of Energy had a federally funded grant that's going to take care of some of the rest. And then the remainder of the system is going to be funded by a third party through a power purchase agreement.
Now that we've discovered how to manage and treat our water supply, we're going to move down the street to the team that manages and maintains the infrastructure that carries water into our homes and businesses.
This is the facility where we house our field services employees. They are the crews that take care of the water mains and the sewer mains that are buried, the infrastructure, and we'll introduce Steve Beamer, one of our managers here, which will give you some details about what we do.
This is known as the map room. I think that's a very appropriate name. There's lots of maps around here. What are these maps? Exactly what goes on in this room?
Well, these maps are made to show us our water mains, services. We have measurements, house locations, or like services where we can go out and find a service, off a measurement. We print sewer mains in here. Pretty much just tells us when we go in the field, where to look to find things.
And some of these maps are over 100 years old, correct?
Right.
And right now we're in a transition of a lot of the things that we have printed out on the maps we can now pick up online in the GIS system.
The map up here shows the blue is all water main. We have 500 miles of water main, 250 miles of sewer main, and 15,000 sewer connections, along with 25,000 water connections. And down here, this is our water main valves, the blue dots, which we have 15,000 of them. The red is fire hydrants. We have 3,900 fire hydrants.
So that's a lot of water main lines to maintain. And one of your responsibilities out here is to repair those lines when they break.
Right. And we're going to give you some experience today on repairing one.
In addition to our talented team of men and women at our field services department, we have millions of dollars worth of equipment that's used to maintain our distribution and collection infrastructure. Equipment like the high-velocity cleaner and vacuum truck that cleans sewer lines with a high-pressure water sprayer and vacuums up the material that gets cleaned out, or the sewer camera trucks that check the condition of the sewer lines. Not to mention the dump trucks and backhoes used to dig the holes and trenches we need to assess the lines. Ensuring that our crews have the tools they need is an important part of keeping water distribution and sewer collection running day after day. So we're out here at one of our residential neighborhoods where we've had one of our water mains break, out here with workers from our Field Utility Services Division. So tell us exactly, how do we know one of our water mains has broken?
Usually the police will call or a resident will call, or and we'll have to send an emergency trouble truck out. This guy works 7 days a week, 24-hour days. Or you get a call from the plant saying there's a lot of loss somewhere, and he'll dispatch a crew out. We'll come out, dig it up. We'll turn the water off a little bit so the residents still have water. Get down and clean the pipe up, put the band on, turn the water back on, and have happy customers.
So what are we going to do today?
We're going to put a band on this water line.
Okay. All right. I was lucky enough to assist with the water line repair on a beautiful sunny day. But our city employees, they are out working on lines 24/7 in all types of weather. If a sewer line backs up on a freezing winter's day, our crews are out restoring services to our citizens. It also means if the water main breaks on a sweltering summer's day, our crews are out digging trenches to assess and repair the lines. With over 500 miles of water main and over 250 miles of sewer lines to maintain, these men and women provide an essential service to our community. But as Thomas mentioned, our Lima residents can play an important role too by notifying our field services team of potential issues. If you notice a potential leak or break in the lines, we encourage you to report that concern using the City of Lima's See-Click-Fix app. This app, also known as the Connect Lima app, is available for free by downloading the app from the Android or Apple app stores. There is also a link on the city's website that can be accessed by using the Report a Concern icon at the bottom of the home page. From the water treatment plant securing a reliable supply of clean drinking water to our field service crews that ensure water safely reaches our homes and businesses, it's easy to see that there is a significant amount of work that goes on behind the scenes. As I reached the halfway point in my day, I had to take a moment to reflect on the role utilities plays in the future of our city. With the capacity to produce 30 million gallons of water per day, we are well positioned for future economic development. And innovative technologies like the floating solar panels will help our community maintain a competitive edge as we look to provide affordable, quality water for our residents and businesses. So now that we've seen where we get our water from and how it's treated, now it's time to take a look at how we actually clean the water. Now we're inside the wastewater treatment plant where all the magic happens. And to explain the magic to us, we have with us Sean Dersham, the assistant manager of the wastewater treatment plant. Sean, exactly what do you do out here?
Well, we take water from the residential and industrial customers and we process it in a way that we can discharge it into the Ottawa River. The process begins with the sewer system, comes into the headworks building of the plant, underground. Screenings and grit removal happen in this building. Take out all the big things that show up in the sewer. Then the water goes into primary treatment, and that's basically settling tanks. Everything that happens in nature happens here, we just make it happen faster. From there, the water goes into aeration basins where microorganisms in the wastewater consume the organics. From there, the water flows into final settling tanks where the same thing happens. Sludge settles out, we pump it out of there. Clean water goes over here to nitrification towers. And then it's disinfected in this building and discharged into the Ottawa River. The solids that are removed are sent to a digester where they're further broken down. And when we have that final product, we can either make a fertilizer out of it for land application on fields or send it to a landfill.
That's really great. So how does this tie into economic development as well?
Industrial users need the capacity to discharge their wastewater. So we have to have the capacity to accept their waste and treat it. On average, we'll treat 13 million gallons a day.
So Sean, we also have an environmental responsibility to the public. So tell us a little bit how we make sure the water's safe.
We can't just put anything in the river. We have to test it for contaminants, things like phosphorus and ammonia and E. coli, so we know it's safe for the aquatic life that live in there. And we do that in our in-house lab.
Amy Staley is the Industrial Monitoring and Laboratory Chief at Lima's Wastewater Treatment Plant. Her team tests the water daily to make sure that the water supply is safe to discharge into the Ottawa River.
In this room, this is our Analytical Chemistry Lab. Basically, we have an NPDES permit with the EPA that allows us to discharge into the Ottawa River. So there are certain limits that we have to meet for certain tests. We do most of those tests in-house.
And you're actually testing right now, correct?
Yes, I'm testing for phosphorus.
And we have a certain limit of how much phosphorus can be in a sample that we put back out into the river.
Yes, monthly limit I believe is around 1.6 milligram per liter. Yeah.
Well, let's see what you're up to then. The samples that are tested here in the lab are taken from the same water that is discharged into the Ottawa River. Through a series of chemical reactions, cooling, and the addition of further chemicals, the tested water will change colors as part of a colorimetric analysis. And by observing that color, Amy is able to determine whether or not the water meets Ohio EPA regulatory limits. And our tests here today pass. As you can see, treating our water at our wastewater treatment plant is a lot about the work that's put in behind the scenes from our workers here at the City of Lima, but it's also about science. As environmental citizens, we have to make sure that not only is the Ottawa River clean, but also the greater bodies of water that we feed into. So we do our part to protect Ohio's rivers. From water distribution to water and wastewater treatment, now we're on to the end of the process, which is utility billing and collections and customer service. One of our crown jewels is the building that is right behind me, which has a history not just to the city as an organization, but to this city as a whole. Mike Caprella, tell us a little bit about what is the history of this building?
Back in the early 2000s, we used to have a building and collection office in the city building on the first floor. It got big enough and we didn't have a drive-through, so we decided we needed a new structure. So we went looking. This came up for sale, and we knew these were historic buildings and there were historic tax credits tied with that. So we partnered with Downtown Lima, Inc. They took out the loans, we got the contract and everything going, and then paid them.
So another example of how collaboration works in the community, how we're able to tie in the historic value of buildings and hold on to some of the things that we know and love about Lima. These two buildings, they house utilities, customer service. We also have a community center here that different organizations can rent out. But what goes on in the upstairs of this building?
There's probably 4 or 5 people up there now that work there. They've got office space up there. So See, that's a multiple use. People can use the bottom part for meetings.
So Sarah, what happens in this building in terms of utilities customer service?
This is the customer service building for the utilities department. Here is where they do all the collections for your utilities bills along with customer service. So coming in to sign in for an account, if you have questions regarding your bills, filing account, anything regarding the utilities, they would happen here in this building.
So we're inside Utilities Customer Service Department, and I'm here with the Utilities Customer Service Supervisor, Casey Smith. So Casey, it's a lot to the operation. You're at the end of the process of utilities, getting water out to the customers. What happens here?
So here at the customer service office, we bill about 27,000 accounts each month. We have Lima split into 4 different cycles, and we bill one of those cycles each week. We do all of the bill processing, printing, and mailing in-house here. We actually had a bill print day today that I think you're going to help us with getting those bills out to our customers.
Well, before we go print the bills, I know in this department particular and all across the city, we've been really focused on using technology to improve the customer service experience. What is this kiosk behind us? What do we use that for?
So last year we invested in 2 kiosks. We have one here in our lobby, and then we have one out where our drive-thru used to be. These kiosks are very user-friendly. You're able to look up an account if you have your bill with you, or if you don't have your bill with you, you can look it up through the address, or if you know your customer and account number, or even by the phone number on your account.
So right now we have 2 of these available. One here, there's actually a drive-through, and in the future we can even have the ability to put them at different places throughout the city.
Yeah, absolutely.
So every month we bill about 27,000 customers, and each week we bill a cycle, which usually runs around 5,000 to 6,000 people. So we upload the bills to a file, they get printed here, and then we put them on the machine, and they fold them and insert them, and they come out here, and then we put them in the mail trays and take them to the post office. And we're just gonna hit start. Okay.
Professionals involved in our water department are some of the unsung heroes of the City of Lima operations. From water collection to treatment to distribution to treatment again is just one of the ways that we help keep citizens safe.